Yes. Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. We got him. Don Lemon has been arrested. Don Lemon, to be more specific. We're talking about it today. The case has still not yet been unsealed, but we've got a bunch of reaction to what went down this morning and somebody else who got indicted, not just Don. There's a whole handful of people. She was live streaming while the whole thing went down, or maybe turned it on while she was being arrested. So we're going to get to peer inside on justice that has now been brought to our attention courtesy of Pam Bondi. She had a couple of posts about it today. We'll go through that. We'll see what the administration says about it. Then we'll travel over to LA Times because apparently Don got arrested when he was over there in California at the Grammys, whatever that is, movies or something. And we'll go through it and see what the reaction is because we've got the Democrats already calling this, wait for it, ... Ketanji, white supremacy in action. Wait till you hear who that is. We'll go into that. And then Chuck Schumer is demanding his release on the floor of the Senate. And they're all very upset about this. But no one's above the law. And FAFO, as they say. So we'll get into all of that. Then we're going to turn our attention to some more leaks because there was two things that happened. One, Cam Higbee dropped another set of documents that talk about fighting and creating these flashpoints so that bad things can happen, like with what happened with Renee Good and Alex Preddy, all in their manual because this is just what they do and they're just running an operation. So we'll go through those documents. And there was another hack. Apparently somebody like vibe coded a website or something, and then all of the lefty insurgents submitted their information to the website. Then they hacked the website and they got all emails, all names, phone numbers, everything. And they're turning that over to the FBI. So they've been busted. And we'll share that story and see what the FBI is up to. Then we got reaction on this because there are a bunch of Congress people now out. The Republicans got the memo and they are hitting the airwaves. They're getting, sound bites and clips all over the place. So we'll go through that. And we have a new lawsuit from Missouri. Remember, yesterday, Fulton County had their little booties raided, and we got our hands on some documents that we think are riddled with fraud. And that was a curious situation because it seemed like it was emanating out of Missouri. Very strange because maybe the company that owns Dominion, the election company, is in Missouri. And now the Missouri governor just announced that they're suing for apportionment stuff, saying we're not going to let illegals basically steal seats from us under this U.S. Census. So a big lawsuit, I think first of its kind in the nation, that we'll take a look at today. And then we'll wrap it up with what the heck else are we talking about? Oh, yeah, we got some Arizona and some SAVE Act stuff because in Arizona, there was some wild testimony yesterday. Of course, Arizona was like just as bad as Fulton County, right? We were there. We were all watching it. Brett Baer's like, wow, Arizona went blue. We're like, it's 6 o'clock, Brett. And yeah, how convenient that was. And we've had so many problems here with Kerry Lake and all the list goes on and on. But we had some interesting testimony yesterday. Democrat group after Democrat group just came out and they were asked repeatedly a very simple question. Can illegal aliens vote in our elections? Is that what your group is working towards? We'll see what they say in response. And a lot, all about the SAVE Act. Chip Roy and a senator came out, and there's a full court press on the SAVE Act right now with Rep. Luna and everybody trying to get this thing installed as we're battling over appropriations and the government shutdown. So we're jammed, baby. We're jammed. And Don Lemon is in handcuffs, probably somewhere in federal custody. Nice way to end the week. And so we are very glad that you're here and with us. Thank you for subscribing to our channel and all the things. Tomorrow, we're going to come back. I know it's Saturday, but we're going to have a very special edition Saturday stream. My beautiful wife, Alexis, who's not here right now, but I'm like referencing, she will be here. We have a big announcement to share. We're very excited about it. Whew. So come back tomorrow and join us. We'll probably hit a couple headlines, see what is going on Saturday, see if anybody else got indicted. And then some news to share. Oh my goodness. All right. So come back tomorrow and we'll see you there. And that's going to be open all across the board. So wherever you're watching right now, come back tomorrow and we'll discuss what's happening. Oh my goodness. I can't give it away. I can't. We'll be back tomorrow. All right. So we're going to get into the business on the day because Don Lemon has been arrested. Pam Bondi saying Don Ma is now in federal custody. It was picked up this morning. She posted this at 7:09 a.m. and has more details coming soon. She also released a video. She says, at my direction, early this morning, federal agents arrested Don Lemon, Tareen Jean Cruz, Georgia Fort, Jamal Lydell Lundy in connection with the coordinated attack on City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. More details coming soon. And this was great news because we saw one of these people was also recording this in real time as she was being picked up. We've got that video over here and we'll go through it. But she says her name is Georgia Fort. She was arrested and she just went on and started live streaming the whole thing. And so we'll see what it looks like to get arrested for attacking a Christian church coming up. But Bondi said that, and then she posted this video in the aftermath. She said, all right, listen up, punks out there. We're not playing around. You demanded justice. Now you've got it. And it's better with audio. Here it is.
Make no mistake, under President Trump's leadership and this administration, you have the right to worship freely and safely. And if I haven't been clear already, if you violate that sacred right, we are coming after you.
Ooh. Yeah, Don got the message. He woke up. He was just thinking about his great podcast with Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota. And Keith Ellison was saying, Don, you're so brave and heroic. Good on you for going in there and tormenting the Christians. And of course, we remember what that looked like in case we forgot. The tormenting of this young boy held in his father's arms because of Don's First Amendment rights, according to him. Yeah, there you go. And he was very excited about that. You remember what the scene looked like in the aftermath of all of this. Just a quick reminder on what was going down. Nick Sorter refreshing our recollection. And Don got there and he was highly involved in the whole thing. He was colluding with them. And when they were going to share sensitive information, remember he turned the camera off so his live streamers wouldn't be able to be a part of it. So in other words, he wasn't reporting on what they were doing in a nonpartisan, just direct, transparent way. He was a part of it. He's saying, hey, man, we're here. Here's the pregame before we get into the big game. And here was just a reminder of what went down.
Into Minneapolis a little bit ago and did some reconnaissance on the ground, speaking to an organization there that's gearing up for resistance and protest. I've been pleasantly surprised to see the community coming together. Diverse community. If you see this, when we first pulled up, we're like, wait a minute,
oh, they're whites.
which operation are we at?
MAGA.
And as it turns out, because we're like, well, this is kind of MAGA coded, right? So the American flag or whatever, but these are resistance protesters. They're planning an operation that we're going to follow them on. I can't tell you exactly what they're doing, but it's called Operation Pull Up. And it's Sakima Armstrong, and she has been doing this since George Floyd, Dante Wright, and others, where they surprise people, catch them off guard, and hold them to account. And so that's what we're doing here. And then after we do this operation, you'll see it live. And these operations are surprise operations. Again, can't tell you where.
Can't tell you where, but he knows where they're going. And he's a part of it. He was there beginning. He was there after. He was there during. They asked him to leave. He didn't go anywhere. And so Cash came out. He said, early this morning, FBI and HSI HQ partners arrested 4 individuals in connection to the January 18th coordinated targeting of City's Church in Minnesota. Don, Charin, Georgia, and Jamal, more to come. And we're waiting for more to come. We have not seen the indictment unsealed yet. We know that there were criminal complaints that were rejected by 2 judges, 2 Minnesota judges, one of whom is married to a woman who works for Keith Ellison, the same Keith Ellison who was doing podcasts with Don Lemon saying, Don, you're innocent. He said no probable cause. Because if he said there was probable cause, well, then he would be overriding his wife's boss. That might be devastating for her. So there's a conflict there, and he didn't leave. The other judge, Schlitz, him and his wife donate to Minnesota illegal alien defense funds, funding their lawyers, funding their defense, then refer them over to other lawyers in Minnesota who do great illegal alien defense work. And then that illegal alien who's referred by the organization to which the judge is donating appears in the judge's courtroom and then says, "Judge, what ICE is doing to this illegal alien is reprehensible." And the judge says, "Yeah, it is. Here, have another check from my wife and I," and sends it over. Total scam. So now, of course, a grand jury just overrode those two dumb judges who couldn't see probable cause if it slapped them in the face if it involved an illegal. Got overridden and should be embarrassed and ashamed of themselves. A grand jury of Minnesotans came back and indicted all of them. And it's a delicious thing to see. So Jim Acosta, who is not a journalist, who's a propagandist hack, says that my friend Don Lemar has now released a statement through his attorney. And his attorney said that he was arrested in LA last night. We're going to go see what the LA Times says about it. He said, "This is outrageous and it cannot stand." This is the same Jim Acosta who was like salivating every time a J6er got picked up. "The First Amendment is under attack in America." Here's the statement from Abby Lowell as Don was in shackles, presumably. "Don Lemon was taken into custody by federal agents last night in Los Angeles, where he was covering the Grammy Awards." Don has been a journalist for 30 years. Journalist, give me a break. That label is so perverted. There are some actual people who report on things, but most of the people who call themselves journalists are just propagandists. That's all. They just fake it. And his constitutionally protected work, and they're not even creative, really, and their constitutionally protected work in Minneapolis was no different than what he has always done. No, that's not true. He used to sit behind a camera and read a teleprompter from other people much more intelligent than him that would regurgitate lines down his gullet. And now he's invading Christian churches. So it's not the same there, Abby. He's saying to shine light on the truth and hold those in power accountable, like that 8-year-old boy who was crying in his father's arms. There is no more important time for people like Don to be doing his work. Now, instead of investigating the federal agents who killed 2 peaceful Minnesota protesters, which they are, by the way, Todd Blanche already said there's a civil rights investigation that was announced today. The Trump Justice Department is devoting its time and attention and resources to this arrest. This unprecedented attack on the First Amendment is an attempt to distract. Don will fight these charges vigorously, and I'm sure he will. So that's from Abby Lowell, and he got picked up. But this other woman called Georgia Fort also got picked up. Here's what it looks like to be arrested for invading a Christian church. No one's above the law. FAFO. There are and were other pro-lifers who got thrown in prison for years under the Joe Biden for violations of 2 laws, FACE Act and conspiracy against rights. Same thing happening here. Here's what this sounded like when she realized, oh yeah, they're not playing around right now.
Do you want to wear my black boots?
You guys, I wanted to alert the public that agents are at my door right now. They're
Nice.
saying that they were able to go before a grand jury sometime, I guess, in the last 24 hours, and that they have a warrant for my arrest. I've talked to my attorney, and I'm being advised to go with them,
Yep.
I guess, down to
Good call.
Whipple. And my children are here. They're impacted by this.
Yeah, just like that kid in the church that you attacked.
This is all stemming from the fact that I
What?
filmed a protest as a member of the media.
No.
We are supposed to have our constitutional right
Nope.
of the freedom to...
No. Tell that to Owen Schroyer. Tell that to James Baker. Tell that to Steve Baker. Tell that to James O'Keefe. We got a whole list of them. So you go to jail.
film to be a member of the press. I don't feel like I have my First Amendment right as a member of the press.
You do. You just don't understand it. That's the problem. Your feelings are irrelevant. If you understood the First Amendment, then you would know that it also includes freedom of religion right in there. And you can't use your First Amendment to go crap on everybody else's First Amendment and call it constitutionally protected. It's all already been articulated in federal law. But you guys want to have it both ways. And you're used to getting away with whatever you want, which has been the case in Minnesota for a long time, but not anymore. And this is great to see that a federal indictment came down from a grand jury of other regular citizens.
Because now federal agents are
Not hack judges who say there's no cause here. Dalamon's amazing.
at my door arresting me for filming the church protest a few weeks ago. Again, I don't have a long time here, you guys, but I wanted you to know, for me, agents are at my door right now. My attorney has spoken with them. I did send a relative outside to talk to them. They're showing some type of documentation, apparently, that they got an indictment from a grand jury. I knew that I was on a defendant's list. I did not publish it because it was under seal. And so we've done everything that we can to try and abide by, you know, the advice of our attorneys. But right now, you guys, I wanted you to know I'm going to have to hop off here and surrender to agents as a member of the press. I filmed the church protest a few weeks ago, and now I'm being arrested for that.
It's amazing. It's like, as long as you have a camera and you call yourself a journalist, you can do whatever you want. Go in to rob a bank. Just go in and start, you know, everybody hands up. I'm a journalist here. I can commit crimes without any consequence and with total impunity, as long as I say the thing.
And how we have a constitution, constitutional rights, when you can just be arrested for being a member of the press. We've seen all these violations. All right, you guys, I gotta go there.
Yeah, turn it off.
She's coming right now.
Give me 1 second. All right, guys.
You want to?
Straight to jail. Perfect. All right, so of course, this is what they do. We're going to talk about this coming up. There's been a new leak hack in the insurgency case. And so we're going to read some of their documents where they're saying the whole point is to create a moment, a flashpoint. You want to create drama and then create yourself as a victim, which is, of course, what she's doing. So she'll go in, she'll trample over everyone else's constitutional rights. Then when justice comes for her, all of a sudden, she's a victim. She doesn't understand what's happening to America. It's so complicated. No, it's not. We don't buy your you're acting like a child. Okay. A child knows they did something wrong and then plays dumb. And you say, hey, you know what you did? Yes, Mom. I know I did it. Good, Robbie. Good. Okay. So they need to grow up. And now they're having a date with destiny. And now LA Times is explaining what went down over at the Grammys. Former CNN anchor was arrested in Beverly Hills. An attack on the First Amendment question? Idiots. Saying here, how many people wrote this article? 3 of them. Great job. Former CNN anchor Don Lemon was arrested last night. 3 others, including another fake journalist, said she was arrested too. Now, he was hosting a YouTube show. He was taken into custody early Friday in Beverly Hills while covering the upcoming Grammy Awards on Sunday. Spokesperson for the Marshals said, yep, he's in federal custody. His lawyer, who did a terrible job representing Hunter Biden and Bob Menendez, said the arrest stemmed from a January 18th protest. Demonstrators pumped their fists. Lemon is being charged with 2 counts: conspiracy to deprive rights and violation of the FACE Act, which is worse than what the other people got charged with. Remember, we've got 2 kind of avenues towards charges. One is with a direct complaint. A cop can come in and just say, I observed this. There's enough probable cause here. Here's why. And that happened. They brought that affidavit. They brought the complaint to a judge, 2 of them. And the judges said, no, it's Don Lemon. We love him. We watch him every night. And didn't find that there was cause. Now, for the other ones, Noxima, and the others, there was probable cause, but only for conspiracy against rights. They said that there was no probable cause as to the FACE Act violations, presumably because there wasn't that much physical contact. We're guessing. We don't really have an explanation from the judge. But that all got essentially doubled down on by a jury of peers at the grand jury who all decided, oh yeah, no, there's both of these here for Don. So those judges got embarrassed twice, both of them. They should be impeached. Obviously, this is ridiculous. Now, at my direction early this morning, Pam Bondi said we are after it. And in another statement, Abby Lowell, we read that after the protest, there were other people who got charged, but judges rejected the charges. Now, on January 23rd, Bondi also told Hannity, she said, we're going into this. And Don's been talking and running his mouth. And as we know, anything you say can and will be used against you. So then they got a bunch of whiners complaining about First Amendment, Mary Trump or whatever. And no more information really inside of it. So we're still kind of in the dark here. But Don Lemon was out talking with a bunch of people after the protest, after the attack, after the FACE Act violation, after the felonies. And remember that these will very likely come back to bite him in his booty, although he may like that.
And there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice.
What
but I
do you
think that they're
practice?
entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy. And they think that this country was built for them, that it is a Christian country, when actually we left England
It
because we
is.
wanted religious freedom. It's religious freedom, but only if you're a Christian and only if you're a white male.
Yeah, why did all 13 colonies have religious tests that you had to be a Christian? How come that happened if we're not a Christian nation? How'd that work out?
Pretty much. And so, yeah, I absolutely 100%, but it's an intimidation tactic. And, I said, I don't understand how I've become the face of it when I was a journalist. I do understand that I'm the biggest name there. And I'm
That's right.
also, as I was on with my producers this morning, you and Kylie talk all the time. My producers were saying, I said, how did I become the face of this? And my producer said, Don, you're a gay black man in America.
Okay. So again, I know it's so hard being a gay black man in America. It's just brutal for him. So anyways, he was the microphone for the insurgents. They were yin and yang. They were working together in a symbiotic relationship. She was performing for him. He was elevating her performance. They were in on it together. Now he's been indicted. And reaction has been coming out all day. Senator Katie Britt, she's from Alabama. Got it. Says here, Don Lemon knowingly disrupted an active church service, intimidating churchgoers seeking to worship in peace and likely violating the FACE Act. Now, he and other agitators should be held accountable. And of course, they have. And the process will now begin. But just like Don Lemon, this guy, very short clip because I know you can only take so much, me too, has a literal comb in his head. And just looks terrible. And here's what he had to say about what's happening to Don Lemon. It's slavery.
It is an expression of white supremacy. And so when I look for constitutional justification for these arrests, it's obviously not in the Constitution. It's obviously not in the Constitution anymore. Because there was something in the original Constitution that would have allowed them to arrest a black journalist like Don Lemon. And that was called the Fugitive Slave Clause in Article 4 of the original Constitution, which allowed the government to reclaim escaped property should that property have successfully made it to a free state.
All right, this guy's like a super lefty. He's called Eli Mistel. They all love him, and they bring him on, and he's got whatever that is in his head, and he's calling it, like, I guess, Don. Is Trump taking Don and, like, locking him up at Mar-a-Lago? He's like, all right, you're on lawn duty, Don. Don's like just walking around. What the hell is he talking about? It's total insanity. They have no other real perspective other than everything is white supremacy and everything's about slavery. It's like, gosh, you guys, you gotta free yourself from that ideology. Like, let it go. Like, free yourself. You're like, shackled down to this old way of thinking. Wake the hell up. So here's more. The church has responded to Don's arrest, said, hey, we are now here. The attorneys for True North Legal representing the city's church. Statement by Jonathan Parnell, lead pastor. Lawyers said the freedom to worship God without fear of violence and intimidation is a fundamental right that defines who we are as Americans. True North Legal and City's Church are grateful that the Department of Justice is committed to upholding that freedom and is holding the agitators who invaded the church accountable. Pastor said, we are grateful that the Department of Justice acted swiftly to protect City's Church so that we can continue to faithfully live out the church's mission to worship Jesus and make him known. Amen to that. And so that's Jonathan Parnell. Is that the guy that they were protesting? I hope it is. It is him. Yeah, so that's him. So the guy that we saw in the video is Jonathan Parnell. Prayers up for Jesus. Thank you, Pastor. So that is what we saw. Eric Schmidt also came out. He says, for years, our criminal justice system legitimized left-wing political violence. We remember. Don Lemon made the mistake of thinking we were still playing by the old rules, but we weren't. Thank you, Pam Bondi. A great day for the rule of law. Don Lemon in custody. Now, Chuck Schumer was freaking out about it. He said, the arrest is a dark message to journalists everywhere. He's not a journalist. He's an agitator, criminal. If you dare criticize this administration, watch your back. He said Don Lemon should be released at once. And the frivolous charges against him dropped. A little bit of Chuck, and then we'll move on.
Clear. This arrest is not just about one journalist in one incident. The arrest is a dark message to journalists everywhere. If you dare criticize this administration, watch your back.
Yeah, and if you invade a Christian church or really any place of worship, then you should watch your back because you're committing a felony. But Chuck's pretty obtuse and thick in the skull, so he knows what he's doing and continues the narrative that First Amendment is under attack. Trump administration is a big Nazi, blah, blah, blah. Jasmine melting down. She posted something that's very appropriate. It's very Jasmine Crockett. It's even a little advanced for her because it's a compound sentence. Says, are you effing kidding me? Don Lemon has been arrested by the DOJ? Question, exclamation. Exercising your First Amendment constitutionally, quote, protected right gets you locked up. Exercising your second gets you killed. And actual murder, well in uniform, gets you nothing. This is not normal nor okay. So she's melting down. And then we had a reaction from a senator called John Cornyn from Texas. He said, hey, Jasmine, you know, a federal grand jury returned an indictment. 2, storming a church where people are peacefully worshiping is not protected speech. And Don Lemon just found out about that. And so as we remember, they were in love with each other at the night of the protests. She got charged by criminal complaint. Don Lemon has been indicted. And I don't know about you, but this looks like a relationship that really can blossom in federal prison. So we're going to keep our eye on this one. As soon as we get the charging document drop, we'll take a look at it. But I have not seen it yet. Probably still being booked and being processed. And so more will be coming down on that. But let's turn our attention to this story because we have another leak. Insurrectionists admit to everything. That's what Cam Higbee says. He's been the guy who's got his hands on the documents, invaded a bunch of these insurgent signal groups, and got materials that show exactly what they're doing. And he says this might be one of the biggest releases that we've seen thus far, because in this document, they talk about how they are intending to create flashpoints. What we saw with Renee Good, what we saw with Alex Preddy, were individuals trying to escalate the situation. We read through prior memos earlier this week that they were distributing amongst themselves, where they said their entire operation was to gum up the process. Use your appearance just to kind of muck things up. And just be that dumb protester, that dumb, guy with the map. Oh, am I not supposed to be standing here right in between you and this illegal alien right here? You move him aside, he comes back in. No, where am I? Oh, no. And what they're doing is obstructing. Agents move them aside. They continue to come in and obstruct. But now this document reveals that they were intentionally trying to get their people killed, essentially. And here is the title of the document. It says, Dispatch, please advise. It's a collective statement from Red-Winged Blackbird. So a bunch of people forming this group, writing this document. And we're going to put a pin in this in a minute and just jump over to this press release from the FBI and the DOJ back during the 2022 indictments of the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys. And we'll come back to this and we'll see, they got indicted for doing certain things. And they got charged with seditious conspiracy and given decades in prison as a result of this because they checked certain boxes. They said, oh, it's a group. Oh, it's a conspiracy. Oh, they had a document. Oh, they had weapons, blah, blah, blah. We'll see if that can also be applied to this current insurgent force, which is permeating and metastasizing throughout America. But here is one word. Dispatch, please advise. Hey, I'm calling you. What should I do? These are tactics for fighting the federal occupation of Minnesota by ICE. Fight, fight, fight. They indicted President Trump for that. Here's what's in their manual. ICE Watch. What does it mean to be Ice Watch? Well, a wide range of people around Minnesota have engaged in the practice of following and monitoring ICE activity. And they write these in the most benign way, okay? You can replace following and monitoring with obstructing because they're trying to increase psychological tension. They're blowing whistles. They're screaming at people, getting in their faces, getting in their line of sight, increasing tension. This can be done on foot or in car. Sometimes this means showing up immediately to the scene like Alex Preddy did when we saw him racing in where an abduction is taking place. This is called rapid response. We saw it. We watched it. They come rapidly. Now, why follow ICE? Here are our goals. This is what Preddy was doing. This is what Renee was doing. Throw ICE off their course. You know what that means? Obstruction. Yeah, that's interference. You can't do something volitionally to obstruct a federal investigation. That's what they're doing. Waste their time and force them to drive away. That's a goal. That's a criminal intent that's articulated and shared all across the gutters of anti-ICE folks. You also are alerting at-risk people to ICE presence, making the whole neighborhood aware of ICE presence to get them outside and resisting, which is public nuisance, by the way. Like, what do you think you're doing being obnoxious to whole neighborhoods? Escalate at ICE abductions and create potential flashpoints. In other words, get someone killed so you can then exploit their death, label them as martyrs, and take advantage of the narrative. So don't go out alone. Make sure someone knows what you're doing. Start in a small area. Join your neighborhood signal chat so we can all stay up to date, crowdsource information, and send you out to obstruct like a sniper. Boom, they're over there. They're over there. Be in touch with this and get back with us so we can do that. Now here's more. What are the tips for thinking strategically during a potential flashpoint? Oh, here. Well, let's assess the situation, they say. How many opponents are present? How many cops? How many fascists are there? Their language. What kinds of equipment do they have? Do they have vehicles, weapons, tactical gear, riot gear? How many friends are present? Friends in quotes, because what they mean are insurgents are also there. How many number of people do you think are willing to assist with the task at hand? What sort of equipment do you have? How many neutrals are there? How many general witnesses who are unwilling to be involved? What are your easiest exit points? And then number two, determine the goal. Is the goal to stop an abduction, which is obstruction? Is it to de-arrest someone or multiple individuals? Is it to create a blockade to prevent ops from coming along or going? To push back on the creation of a boundary or something else? Consider what it will take to accomplish the chosen goal and whether the rest of your present AG is on board with the goal. Is it achievable? Then you can accept the risk or not based on the risk. You can accept the task. And that is more. Now, you should create flashpoints. What do we say a flashpoint is? We mean any time and place where masses of people are directly confronting the armed force of the state. Renee Good, Alex Preddy. These are specific times and places where a crisis quickly and dramatically escalates. They're engineering them. There are several places across the Twin Cities metro that already have or could in the future escalate into larger, more sustained confrontations. Another murder, which they already got. A prolonged and escalating abduction attempt. Fascist civilians escalating violently. You mean your neighbors who are living in their homes who are saying, how about we want ICE to remove these people? Or mass protests that spill out into escalated confrontation with the state are all potential situations that could lead to flashpoints. These possibilities are dangerous, but they are also sites at which we can escalate our resistance, okay? We'll take advantage of this attack on us and we'll say, we're being attacked, even though they instigated it. And we'll inspire people into taking more militant, organized action. We need to be prepared for these moments. We need to keep each other safe. We need to be able to escalate when it's strategic. And here's where we should go. To their hotels. They are at their most vulnerable at these hotels. A strong campaign could reduce their ability to stay. They can't sleep. We're psychologically terrorizing them. We're harassing them. We're criminally stalking them. Local cops don't care. So far, most hotel actions have been just noise demos. Potential next steps could include daily, nightly pickets, occupying lobbies, blockading cars in and out, harassing these businesses. This has worked at several junctures during our current occupation, where ICE has moved to hotels farther out of the city because they're being disturbed. They're pushing them back. Pressure campaigns have also forced some hotels to cancel their reservations and shut down entirely. And they're also staking out federal buildings. The current headquarters at ICE, over at the Whipple building, where the other gal just got taken to. We need to make it inaccessible. National Guard bases, the Mississippi River. We have to keep people boxed in or kettled. Still, Whipple is the primary place where they go. And so if we can create effective disruptions, we need thousands of people to do this, but it would impact their ability to operate. And this is in writing. They're sharing it amongst themselves. And we saw that when stuff like this happened, there were seditious conspiracy charges against a dozen men, and they went to prison, were going to be in prison for decades until President Trump came in and corrected that injustice. But remember this, just quickly. Back in January 2022, under the Biden administration, the Oath Keepers got indicted and arrested. Bunch of them got picked up. 8 other people, all hit with the superseding indictment. And what did they do? Well, they say that the Oath Keepers are a large but loosely organized collection of individuals. Okay, so if these are check boxes, it was good enough for the Oath Keepers. 20 years. Are these people that we're talking about here, these anti-ICE maniacs, these insurgents, are they a loosely organized collection of individuals? Of course, clearly. Some of whom are associated with militias. Absolutely. Armed queers of Salt Lake City, armed gay, whatever. All part of militias. Okay, so check that one. Though the Oath Keepers will accept anyone as members, they focus on military, just like the gay gun groups. Members and affiliates of the Oath Keepers were among the individuals who entered the Capitol. Just like these people are entering federal space, which are removal operations. So the seditious conspiracy, so I mean, it's like, that's basically irrelevant, right? Otherwise, that's a trespass charge. It's a trespass and parading around in the Capitol building. So what was the end goal of the conspiracy, right? It's to interfere with the operation of the federal government, in this case, elections. In Minnesota, it's with deportations. The seditious conspiracy indictment says that after the election, Stuart Rhodes, one of the Oath Keepers, and remember that Ray Epps was also an Oath Keeper and was there on scene and got a sweetheart deal. He conspired by others to oppose by force the execution of the laws of the United States. In this case, those laws were related to an election. In Minnesota, they're related to immigration. Check that box. Beginning in December, they used encrypted and private communications. Oh, just like all these insurgents on Signal. Rhodes and various coordinators conspired to travel to a location. They're doing the exact same thing. Check it. The date of the certification back in Washington. Now, according to this, they conspired using a various means and methods. They were prepared and willing to use force. Okay, prepared. They didn't do it. And they were going to transport firearms and ammunition to DC. All of it was like, body talk in these chat groups. They were which is all happening in the Signal groups. They were recruiting members. They were recruiting affiliates. They were organizing trainings to learn about tactics. Same thing all of these people are doing. They brought paramilitary gear. They brought weapons, knives, batons, camouflage combat uniforms. Alex Preddy brought with him a firearm to his obstruction. They tried to take control of the Capitol, just like they're trying to take control of these federal operations. And what did they get them with? They used text messages and encrypted messaging applications they went through. Then they talk about the physicality, all of the things, Oath Keepers and other affiliates. Here, they also had a QRF team, and they had this document. They said that they wrote a manual that said, if something goes bad, then we can deploy other people into Washington. And they said that manual was saying that's where the violence was going to come from. We said, wait a minute. If they were going to take over the country, how come they didn't bring guns with them? They said, well, somebody wrote this document and they were going to bring guns. They were just located outside of DC. I'm like, well, did they even start to bring guns? No. So that didn't happen? Was that just some document that somebody just shared around in a Telegram group? Did Christopher Wray write that? All of the same indicia. And they got 20 years maximum penalty, 20 years. So these insurgents are an order of magnitude greater than anything the Oath Keepers were doing or the Proud Boys. We heard testimony from the Proud Boys that they couldn't, with all due respect to them, they testified that they couldn't organize a hamburger stand. And they got a seditious conspiracy charge. So these people should be in prison. They should be rounded up, just like the J6ers were, with full weight of the federal government behind it. And we're going to keep focusing on it until they do. Now, we're also seeing that there were some other hacks that occurred yesterday. Data Republican, she said, whoa, something interesting happened last night. There's this website called ICE Watch, I believe is the website. Stopice.net. And last night it got hacked. So somebody went in there, and when you went over there, they've since changed the servers and got it back up. But when you went there, stopice.net, it showed this screen. So all these insurgents are going over there. Yeah, Stop ICE. Said, we were not kidding. We sent your names, your logins, your passwords, and your locations to a bunch of government agencies. The guy who made the site, called Sherman, is a terrible coder, and so are RC Concepcion and Matt. Don't know how to vibe code. You can't keep your database unsecured. You have to secure it. Enter the proper command in the terminal next time. Or don't. Actually don't, because we're happy to see all your identities. Now, the Senate Republicans are saying what they're doing is supposed to be being alleviated because the state administration is going to work with the feds on illegals. But Senate Republicans dropped this one yesterday, said officials in Minnesota have refused to turn over illegals in their custody to ICE for deportations. And so what's happening is Democrats are caring more about protecting violent and criminal illegals than they are protecting Americans. And we've known that for a very long time. Here's a representative called Ralph Norman. He says, yep, chaos continues to spread, but the Dems love the illegals much more than they do Americans.
The Democrats coddle the criminals that existed in Minnesota, but the criminals are the ones that, that will be getting away if we bow down to the demands that the Democrats have no leverage to make. The Democrats coddle the criminals. We
can't give in to them. It's their power base. That's why they're so freaked out. They know that if they can't win this one, they may lose political power forever. Now, here's Eric Schmidt. He said, Democrats are refusing to de-escalate. And that ICE Watch website, Stop ICE, whatever, it's back up. They turned it back on. They just repointed the server somewhere else, and it carries on. He says they're refusing to de-escalate. Not a single one will say, let our law enforcement officers do their jobs. ICE operations are happening everywhere, but there are 9 deep blue counties where anti-ICE violence is 590% more likely than anywhere else in the United States by design. This isn't on ICE or Homeland. It's on militant leftists and their enablers in the Democrat Party. This is, of course, what they want. They know it's their fault. Blame the Democrats and blame the communists. Like guilty. Yeah, we're doing that.
The Democrats, I was listening to Mayor Fry on the lead-in here. They refuse to de-escalate this. They refuse to say what should be said, which is protest all you want, but let ICE do their jobs. They won't do that. And so in 9 counties, John, in this whole country, 9 counties, there's a 590% chance higher than every other county in the country for anti-ICE violence because these sanctuary cities, these sanctuary areas are not cooperating with law enforcement. These operations are happening everywhere in the country, red states and blue states alike. You do not see the incidents in Minnesota because they're able to do their jobs. The Democrats want this confrontation. They want the chaos. The onus is on them. This isn't on ICE. It's not on DHS, and it's certainly not on President Trump.
They do want it, and I think it's because their constituents want it. So, and I appreciate Eric Schmidt. I like him a lot, and I think he's accurate about this, but it's like if you call a thief, and he's like, yeah, I know, and I'm going to continue to steal from you because you're not stopping it, so F off. I don't care. Call me whatever you want. It's kind of how this feels. It's like the Democrats want this. Like, we know, and we're going to keep going until you stop. So the response to that can't be, okay, we'll stop. The response to that needs to be, well, we have the federal government at our disposal, so you will lose, and we'll show you how. So here's more from Byron Donalds. He's also running for governor in Florida. He posted a long list here. He said, look, what happens right now in Minnesota is very damning. Walz and the Democrats aided and abetted Somali fraud, threatened the whistleblowers who were out trying to stop it. Walz and the Democrats received campaign contributions back from the fraudsters. Then the payments went to terrorists, and we're finding out more about this every day. So I support these criminal referrals. said Byron yesterday on with Fox.
Well, we're still going through our investigations in the Oversight Committee about the complicity of Governor Walz and the Attorney General Keith Ellison with allowing this fraud to continue. We know that they knew about it. What we also know is that from whistleblower testimony that they were essentially being derailed in their investigations. They were being stonewalled. Employees in the state of Minnesota were being blacklisted and threatened with their future careers if they continued to try to uncover the fraud. And that came from the top of the Walz administration. So we're going through that side of the investigation. The Department of Justice and the FBI are still going through and prosecuting people who were stealing the money and guilty of wire fraud, those issues right there. That's the current update, even though everybody's watching what's going on with these radical protests and agitators that are being fomented by Governor Walz. The fraud angle has not gone away when it comes to the Oversight Committee. Stu, I'll add one thing. The Government Accountability Office every single year puts out a report that tells Congress that there's over $250 billion a year of misallocated payments all throughout the federal government. So there is fraud. There are misallocated payments. I thank President Trump for his leadership, and we want the Senate to confirm this new appointee at the Department of Justice because we have to get to the bottom of it. We got to save the people their money.
Yeah, and a lot of that money is going to Somalis. Here's Brandon Gill saying 80% of Somalis in Minnesota are on welfare. That's enriching us, though. Cultural enrichment. They bring more value than not. We have to pay for everything, but it must be the banana and rice. I don't think I've had it, but it must be damn good. Apparently, it's worth it. Here's what Brandon Gill had to say about this.
The reality is these Somalis are not assimilating into American culture.
No.
And you can see that on the welfare statistics that I was citing. It's over 80% of Somalis in the United States, or in Minnesota, excuse me, are on welfare. That is substantially higher than for native-born American citizens, which is a whole lot lower. But the most damning fact, I think, is that even after being in the United States for 10 years or longer, the percentage of Somalis in Minnesota who are on welfare is 78%. In other words, they're not coming here to live the American dream. They're not coming here to be productive members of society. Nope. They're coming here to get free stuff. And they're getting free stuff from Democrats who are trying to use that to buy off their votes.
Yeah, and steal money and send it back home to their Somalian families. So they can just go back to Somalia and support their families that way. They don't have to come here and steal our stuff and send it back over there. So Kristi Noem was out. She said, we're trying to get rid of these bad people. How come the Democrats want them to live amongst them so hard? Well, we know why, because that's how they obtain their power. Here's Secretary Noem. She says, you encourage what you allow. That's wise. Why is this happening to me? Well, because you tolerate it. You sit there and tolerate it repeatedly. It's time for Minnesota sanctuary politicians to stop siding with criminals, fraudsters, and rioters and start standing up for the American people. Kristi Noem, Homeland Security.
When you hear the never-ending refrain from Tim Walz, Gestapo, Nazi, fascist, or, Mayor, I call him Small Fry out there, get the F out of our city. Well, if they did leave the city, all of these people would still be there, and the people in their city and the people in their state would be less safe and less secure. Do you have a message for the governor and for the mayor?
Yeah, I would tell them to be leaders and to change their rhetoric because it is encouraging the kind of violence that we see on their streets today.
Look at all these
their
people.
Riots are attacking our officers, not just when they're doing their work, but even at night at their hotels. And they haven't allowed their law enforcement to keep them safe. Even while they're off shift, they can't go to restaurants. They can't operate safely. They've had their lives threatened and their families' lives threatened. So I would encourage the governor to work with us, the mayor to work with us to get those dangerous criminals off their streets. That's all we want. We have specifically in Minneapolis targeted human traffickers, sex traffickers, and child predators. Help us get those individuals off your streets before they create more victims. That's the work that these officers are doing every day. And they have an opportunity here just to work in partnership with federal officers who are doing exactly what the people who live in that community want them to do.
That's Kristi. And you see some of these names down here. Homicide, right there. Amphetamine, selling amphetamines, that dude. assault and R, another S offender. Marijuana, illegal reentry, another assault right there. Yikes. The bad kinds of assaults, you know, all assault's bad, but you know, the real bad ones. So they're all there, and ICE is like, hey, we're just here to help kind of clean things up so you have a better life. And they're like, no, we don't want him here. Get out of here, fascists. And Tim Walz apparently is insinuating that this is inching closer to a civil war. He said, I mean, is this Fort Sumter? He said, Walz asks a pro-migration writer from The Atlantic. It's an armed force that's assaulting, that's killing my constituents, my citizens. And so Trump was asked about this today. He said, what? The Civil War?
On Minneapolis, Governor Tim Walz recently likened the conflict on the ground to Fort Sumter, sort of implying that this is the beginning of a civil war. Do you agree with that characterization? Do you feel like there's a civil war brewing in Minneapolis?
Well, does he know what Fort Sumter was, or do you think somebody wrote it out for him? No, this is, I was elected on law and order. I was elected on a strong border. We had a border that allowed 25 million people to come in. Many were murderers. They murdered people. We had 11,888 murderers. We had prisons, including Venezuela, but Venezuela opened its prisons. So did the Congo. The Congo in Africa opened its prisons and dumped people into our country. Many countries did that. I would have done that if I were leading a country. I would have dumped the prisoners into our country. We had open borders. We had all these things. I was elected on law and order. I was elected on the economy. I was elected on a lot of reasons. Because when I took over, we inherited a mess. Prices were too high. Inflation was the highest it was in 48 years. I say ever, but the media always corrects me by saying it's only 48 years. I think 48 years almost sounds worse. But when I was elected to do a job. And one of the big things I was elected to do is law and order. We now have the lowest crime rate in the history of our country. We have the lowest murder rate in the history of our country. We have Washington, D.C., which was a dangerous place to walk, is now a totally safe city. You can walk with your husband or your wife. You can walk with your children right down the middle of the city. Nothing's going to happen. We did a great job. We had the National Guard. We have soldiers. We have people that nobody's going to mess with. And we've taken out, remember, it's not just that. In Washington, we've removed over 2,000 criminals. And, you know, if you look at the numbers, a very small percentage of your population, 2%, 3% of your population causes 90% of the crime. So when you move a small, it's amazing how that works. But the criminals go over and over and over again. So 2 to 3% of your population can cause over 90% of your crime. So it's not that complex. We moved 2,000 people out of Washington. We brought them back to their countries where they came from. They came through open borders by Sleepy Joe Biden. And I will tell you, Washington is safe. If you look at New Orleans, as you know, we went there about 4 weeks ago. I was with the mayor of New Orleans last night. He was at the premiere, and she was at the premiere. She was great. I believe she's a Democrat. She came over. She thanked me so much. She said crime is down more than 50% in just a few weeks. And you couldn't even walk down the street in New Orleans. It's so bad. And now they let us in there, and she is thanking me so much, so profusely. She was great last night. I'd do that if I were a Democrat. I'd say call Trump in, let them do what they do. Right. But we remove people, criminals, from the cities, and they become safe cities. If you look at Minnesota, Minneapolis, we have crime down there because we took out thousands of people, despite all the mess and everything else. But do these people really want to have rapists? Do they really want to have drug dealers and
yes, they do.
People from prisons and murderers? Do they really want to have them in the community?
Yes, they do. They don't even really believe in criminal law. They think it's kind of like a white supremacy thing, that we just write rules and we created capitalism and like Christianity, and it's like so oppressive and patriarchal and xenophobic and all that. They don't even want the police. So yes, Ilhan's like, bring the rapist back, bring him in, offload him off the airplane. They'll take them as long as they can because they'll vote Democrat and it will help consolidate their power. So we'll, of course, keep our eye on it. But the evidence is pretty clear. This is a seditious conspiracy and much worse. And we hope that the administration is investigating every single nook and cranny of these maniacs who are insurgents across the country, creating flashpoints, wanting somebody to get killed on their own side. because death is really meaningless to them. They don't even really care about it. And we will cover this. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. Now, we're not done yet. We've got one more update on the day, and then we'll hear from you. Elections coming soon, and we've got some damning testimony that just occurred in the battleground state of Arizona. Representative Alexander Collodon, he said, I asked today 3 Democrat lobbyists a very simple question. Should you have to be a citizen in order to vote in Arizona's elections? Pretty simple. But watch what happened during testimony in the Arizona House of Representatives. And once we're done with this, we're going to see that Republicans are basically at the breaking point, now launching, courtesy of Chip Roy and Senator Based Mike Lee, the Save America Act. We're talking about election integrity and what this will do in just a moment. But here's what we're dealing with in Arizona. This place is a mess. We know Fannie Willis had the water main break and all that nonsense. Here, we couldn't even get the right paper size. You know, like you go into a printer, like, I need an envelope. You're like, I only got 8.5 by 11. It's like, well, I need an envelope. You're like, well, why can't you just print? It's like, well, it's the wrong size. We couldn't figure that out here. And people were waiting in lines out the door to go in and try to vote for Carrie Lake. But watch the faces on each one of these people testifying. You can see the deception and the scam written right on their face. Like, they all know what they're doing, but they're too cowardly to admit it.
Do you believe that people should have to be United States citizens in order to vote in Arizona's elections?
I'm representing an organization and I'm speaking to this bill. I've shared those sentiments.
Does the organization you're here representing believe that people should have to be United States citizens in order to vote in Arizona's elections?
That's a question that I have to go back for that very specific question.
It's not specific.
To get the response because I don't know.
Mr. Chair, that's not an answer.
It is not.
My name is Jody Lee. I'm here on behalf of Lucha.
Does Lucha believe that people should have to be citizens of the United States in order to vote in Arizona's elections?
I believe that I don't have an answer from that directly from Lucha.
Look at her face.
And I think certainly they believe all taxpayers should have access to democracy.
That was quite a word salad. People who are non-citizens who are working in Arizona, whether they're here legally or illegally, pay taxes.
Maybe.
Does Lucha believe that non-citizens should be able to vote in Arizona just because they pay taxes?
I don't feel comfortable making a definitive statement on behalf of the organization.
Shit-eating grin right on her face.
Is it the position of the ACLU that people should have to be U.S. citizens in order to vote in Arizona's elections?
It is the ACLU's position that voting should be fair and accessible and to everyone who is eligible.
That would be a U.S. citizen.
Yeah, that's a U.S. citizen. Hello. So why can't you just say that? And she went, so she was sitting in the back. So she was like third up, right? So they hear this guy go, the first guy. And then while the first guy's testifying, this second lady's back there. She she got the answers to the test. You know what they're going to ask you. You got the questions. So then she comes out and on her face, she's like, that's a good one. Citizenship to vote for Lucha, the illegal alien organization. You know, not real sure on that, but it's a good question, though. It's a good, let me go ask about that. And then the last one from the ACLU comes out. She's trying poker face, but you can see the contortions right on her forehead. She's like, all right. She heard the first two go, so she went and called the morons over there at the ACLU. They're like, just say this. Just say this. And then this guy at the very end, he's like, so citizens.
That would be a U.S. citizen.
Nailed it. All right. So that's what we're dealing with all across the country. You have these organizations who are such cowardly, un-American traitors who are working overtime to get people who are not citizens some access to democracy, as that maniac lady had to say. So that's in Arizona. It's happening in a town near you. Don't get it twisted. And here's more. In fact, from Shiloh Marks, the United States processed 14 million online voter registration applications online between 22 and 24. 14 million. These online voter registration applications don't require any proof of citizenship. All you have to do is check a box. Passing the SAVE Act would require proof of citizenship to actually register to vote in federal elections. Currently, all you have to do is make an avowal. There's no real way to check. And they do that. We know they do that. That's why they're so freaked out about the SAVE Act. So here's even more from Mayor Frey. He was on with Stephen A. Smith, and he said, hey, Stephen S., hey, Jacob, any idea how many illegal aliens are in your state? Maybe voting for you, maybe voting for Ilhan and voting for the Democrats who continue to make sure that they get paid.
I got to ask you this. When you talked about just illegal migrants in a city, people who cross the border illegally, that's what people call them. I want to ask you, how many do you believe you have in your city at this particular moment in time?
Doesn't care.
How many people that are undocumented or living in Minneapolis right now?
Undocumented, yes. Do you have any idea?
I don't know. I couldn't. I don't really have a guess as to how many presently are here. I do know that I think that the federal administration just got it kind of wrong.
I got to ask.
Yeah, doesn't know, doesn't care, wants more as far as they're concerned. So we see that there's another attack vector on this, which I think is very, very welcome development. You see, this is Catherine L. Hanaway. She's the Missouri Attorney General. And she just announced the first of its kind lawsuit to stop the counting of illegal aliens in the census, saying she is suing the Department of Commerce and the Census Bureau to reverse the counting of illegal aliens in the numbers. And we know that they just count bodies, warm bodies. They don't count citizens for the census. And the number of bodies relates to the number of representatives. So the more illegals you have, the more federal representation, the bigger the federal budget that you get, and more. So you have a strong incentive to be a sanctuary city because you gobble up federal power. So here's the lawsuit. It's a big one. And it's from the state of Missouri against Commerce and Howard Lutnick. And I'm probably pretty sure that they're on the same side of this. But you need, litigation to get the courts to issue judgments so that you can make some decisions. So here's what this says. It's 96 pages. We'll just hit the intro and the highlights and see what they're asking for. But she explains, we have to fix this problem. The third sentence of the Declaration of Independence, beautiful document, summarizes the cornerstone of American political theory. It says, to secure inalienable rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. We the people. In the Constitution comes later. In America, the people, that is, the members of the social compact, are the only legitimate source of the government's power. You're not. And I think that, who was it? Tim Kaine said something like, well, you don't have any rights unless we give them to you. Remember? We thought, what a twisted set of beliefs that is. Rather than coming from God, being natural rights, they come from the government. That's not how our country works. Do you know anything? We, the people, enable you to govern. And we can retract that. That is why James Madison said that the people are the only legitimate fountain of power, and it is from them that the constitutional charter under which several branches of government hold their power is actually derived. That's from Federalist number 49. Even Lincoln observed at the Gettysburg Address, government of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, in maintaining this social compact between the people and their government, nothing is more sacred than our right to representation. We scream about this all the time. We have no representation. Our founding citizens had way more representation than we had. One rep for every 50,000 people, give or take. It was dynamic. Then now it's like one rep for every 800,000. Our share of representation has gone from 1/50,000th to 1/800,000th. After all, the United States is a representative form of government. Now, this case is about this question. Do the people still retain the right of self-government or not? Or do illegal aliens and our bureaucrats trespass upon that right? Since the Jimmy Carter administration, the federal government has, with one significant exception, intentionally counted illegal aliens as part of the census. And to this day, they still say that. The website even confirms, yep, we'll count unauthorized immigrants. We'll count residents because that's all that matters. Now, this policy violates the Constitution. It violates the basic principles of representative government. In fact, the 14th Amendment says that the representatives shall be apportioned among the several states according to their respective numbers. Respective numbers. Is it citizens? No. Is it residents? No. What is a number? We have to count the whole number of persons in each state, excluding the Indians. And the 14th Amendment was coming in place after the Civil War, part of the Reconstruction Amendments, and saying you count the slaves, okay? They count as people now. No more 3/5, none of that. So how many whole persons are in? That's the number. Now, at the time of the founding and the adoption of the 14th Amendment, that meant domicile. What does domicile mean? Legal. Legal domicile. The sovereign has given you permission to be here, and you're here legally. Only citizens and non-citizen individuals permitted by the government, establish permanent domicile. That's the Wong Kim Ark case, very closely connected to the birthright citizenship matter coming soon. So consistent with that understanding, no census has counted temporary sojourners like foreigners visiting, and illegal aliens who are non-citizens present here without a lawful basis should be treated the same as temporary sojourners. They're not here permanently. They're not allowed to be legally domiciled here. They are trespassers. They never entered the United States within the meaning of the law. They trespassed in. They never got permission to come in here and set up shop, but they are. Illegal aliens can be deported at any time as long as we follow due process, and we know that it's not the same as Article 3 due process. Same thing with temporary visa holders. We don't treat them as part of the census. This was intended by both the founders and the 14th Amendment. How could we possibly think that allowing illegal aliens to come in here and gain representation at the expense of an American, we're not getting more representatives. It's not like we got invaded by 20 million illegals and they're like, well, we need to add more seats in the House so that you actually have a representative republic, democracy. They didn't do that. So our share of the pie gets smaller for every illegal alien that comes in because it's capped, which it shouldn't be. But the framers intended to give representation to unnaturalized non-citizens who were legally permitted to indefinitely remain because they expected them to become citizens. They go back through the debates. But if you're not here legally and permanently, you can't count. And for much of American history, whether illegal aliens would be counted was a mere academic question, right? We used to not have to worry about it because we didn't have invasion. We weren't being invaded. So it's like, oh, well, I mean, if you're here, then you're here legally because we're a sane country and we control our border. So we'll count you because you're not illegal because we don't allow that. Now, all of a sudden, it's a full-blown invasion after we got the social safety nets and reopened the borders. It's been floodgates ever since. And so we haven't revisited these concepts. And it was so easy to come here legally. Very few migrants even came across illegally. Notably, the federal government appears only to have begun seriously to consider whether they should be counted in 1980. It was not until 1980 that Carter decided, yeah, we'll count them. So now we have increased urgency. We have at least 15 million more people here. Many came in illegally. Many overstayed their visas. They now make up substantial percentages of the population in some states. In California, there's almost 2 million. 2 million. That's 4 Wyomings of illegal aliens, which is 10% of LA. That's why they'll never, they're anger 10% of their population. They'll have riots to take over the city. For reference, the number of illegal aliens in LA is roughly equivalent to 1/3 of Missouri's population of 6 million people. 1/3. Now, unsurprisingly, given the fact that they gain political power due to the presence of this, they now intentionally undermine federal law. Under the Supremacy Clause, they can't do that. And the Carter administration is diminishing states. Now, Missouri is filled with citizens. Okay, this is a states' rights thing too. So then California steals seats that should go to them. So we're not only getting, a loss of a representative, but states are. So to state it more bluntly, Carter was stealing reps from states, from American citizen states, over to illegal alien states. It undermines redistricting. We're also suffering. The census determines how trillions of dollars are doled out. We know trillions are going to the illegals. There are 353 federal assistance programs that they use to disperse funds. And so Missouri says enough is enough. The Carter administration policy is unconstitutional. It violates the law. There is no rational reason to give illegal aliens any representation in our federal government at all. And we're being injured by this. And so we're suing to stop this counting before the next election, or census rather, in 2030. And so what we're asking you to do here, court, is enter a declaratory judgment. You should declare that illegal aliens and temporary visa holders are not to be counted in the census. We want another judgment saying if you're an illegal alien, you're not to be counted. We want you to remove from the prior census, let's go backwards. Remove from the apportionment all of the illegals from the 2020 census. And that would shift numbers so big. We want an injunction stopping Trump, or in this case, the executive branch, from counting illegals in the 2030 census. We should detect them. We want the best practices to detect them and make sure we don't count them. Issue an injunction from preventing a reversal, and remand this case to the Department of Congress and to the census to redo all of this. So signed here by the Missouri Attorney General's office called Luis J. Capozzi. Shout out Capozzi. And Missouri AG's office. Awesome stuff. We've been waiting for this, man. Shout out to the Missouri AG for delivering that, because it's part of, we have deportations. We need birthright citizenship, Supreme Court. We need a better census so that we're not counting the illegal aliens. So all that is happening right now. Now, meanwhile, Congress is also pushing forward with the Save America Act. Announced yesterday, Chip Roy from Texas and Mike Lee from Utah say we are now introducing a new and improved version of the widely supported SAVE Act. It adds a voter ID requirement for voting in federal elections while maintaining the original proof of citizenship requirement for voter registration. Should be a no-brainer across the board. It would protect the right of Americans by doing the following: requiring individuals to present an eligible photo ID before voting. Got to show ID for anything, to get on an airplane, drive a car, all of it. Got to have it to vote. Requiring proof of citizenship in person if you're going to vote, and requiring states to remove non-citizens from existing voter rolls. Also an insane thing. That's even real. Under Biden-Harris, at least 10 million people came in. Many of them voted. That's illegal, but they don't care. So Chip Roy and the rest of them are out launching the SAVE Act, and we're going to keep our eye on that one because we seemingly have an illegal alien problem. And in Arizona, it turns out, Homeland is purchasing a $70 million warehouse. Now, this is in a city called Surprise, but it is also a surprise for the illegal aliens. $70 million Surprise warehouse. Surprise, we're coming to get you. But there's a city here called Surprise. That's where it's located. So the Department of Homeland is dropping $70 million. This place is huge. 418,000 square feet. Look at the size of this building. Oh, man. It's like that meme. You can fit so many illegals in this place. You're going to love this thing. Lots. So here's where it's going to be, out in Arizona. And it's a good location for it. Lots of land. 70 million. Don't know what the intended use is going to be. We're pretty sure we have an idea. Now, elsewhere in Arizona, this was a wild clip. So we know that our attorney general, called Chris Mays, who's a moron, she said that Arizona has a stand your ground law and that you could blast federal agents if you don't like them or something. Obviously, an insane statement. So she's been getting a lot of pushback for that. And this is Katie Hobbs. This is actually our governor of Arizona. We don't play her a lot because it's so painful to listen to. This is the governor of a state. This is not that blonde lady from that 1990s movie called Clueless. This is a governor, a real governor of Arizona. And here is what she said in one of the most accurate things she's said ever about Chris Mays.
I I think her comments were inappropriate.
Oh!
She should retract them.
Whoa.
What about them was inappropriate?
It is the responsibility of every elected official to turn down the temperature and do everything we can to be very careful with our language about ramping up the potential for violence. We are seeing across the country people's fear increasing, the potential for violence increasing, and law enforcement officers have a really, really hard and dangerous job.
That's true.
And we have to do everything we can to make sure that that job is as safe as possible.
But her point was, she said she was trying to.
I'm not going to defend her remarks. I'm not going to litigate her remarks. I think they were inappropriate, and I think she should retract them. Yeah. If she's had to do as much explaining as she has, it didn't hit the mark.
Oh, so they're like sorority sisters out here. Like all the gals, like, hey, we won, okay. And they are normally linked like two peas in a pod. And so she's throwing shade at Chris Mays. Chris Mays, you better retract. We'll see if she does. But there's more. Mike Lee says, I'm getting Republicans on board with the SAVE Act. Let's go. I committed another Republican senator to co-sponsor the SAVE Act last night. Hope to be able to announce that in the next few hours as soon as it happens and the counts keep ticking. Here's Based Mike Lee dropping this last night from outside the Capitol.
At President Trump's suggestion, I'm walking into the Senate right now to refile the SAVE Act. We've added a voter ID provision, as he suggested, and also as President Trump suggested, we've renamed the SAVE Act. It's now called the Save America Act because that's what it would do. This is necessary to save America. When we save our voting system, we protect American election security, we truly do save America. Let's get this passed.
Let's go, Base Mike Lee. We need it. We need election reform badly. Jerry Moran said, I have long supported voter ID requirements for federal elections, which is why I have co-sponsored the SAVE Act to make certain only U.S. citizens are voting in federal elections. Thank you, Senator Jerry Moran, over from Kansas. So we're seeing some momentum out. And we read that lawsuit. That was from Catherine Hanaway. And Kate Kamak was also posting about this. She dropped this one last week about illegal aliens getting driver's licenses. She's a representative out in Florida.
Hey guys, Congresswoman Kat Kamak here. Disturbing factoid for you. Did you know that there are 19 states that issue driver's licenses to non-citizens? And of those 19 states, 15 are the ones that actually do automatic voter registration for people getting driver's licenses. Now, I personally believe in election integrity and that you should show an ID in order to vote.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But opponents to that, aka the left, say, oh, no, automatic voter registration is fine because there's this handy dandy little checkbox that people have to opt out of registering to vote. Guys, let's not let little checked boxes get in the way of ensuring the integrity of our elections. It's common sense, not controversial. You should be a citizen in order to participate in our elections. Plain and simple. So call your senators, encourage them that they co-sponsor and support the SAVE Act. It is the only way that we ensure our elections are safe and secure.
That's right. Got to get it done. Got to get it through. Here was another one, Senator Risch. He says this is just common sense. He's from Idaho, and he posted this one today. Got a lot of activity on this today.
Well, look, this is one of those issues that is just plain common sense. It shouldn't take an argument. It shouldn't take persuasion to get people to agree with this.
No,
Americans deserve to have only Americans vote in our elections. Very simply, asking someone to show up with ID is not burdensome. If you go to the airport, you got to have ID. When you drive an automobile, you have to have ID on you. When you operate the automobile, there's so many things we do in our country that require a person to show who they are. That's not asking too much as far as an election is concerned. We have the right to demand that non-citizens do not vote in our elections. This is just common sense. It shouldn't take a law to do this, but if we have to pass a law, so be it. It's a good common sense thing to do.
Let's go. All right, so Iowa is on board. We also have Ted Cruz. saying we're going to get this thing through. So here is Ted explaining more.
Why isn't this getting passed? Look, I agree. I'm an original sponsor of the SAVE Act. I'm a passionate advocate of the SAVE Act. I think we ought to pass it. I think we ought to put it on the Senate floor. And I think we ought to use every bit of leverage to pressure the Democrats. We ought to force them to do a talking filibuster and make them talk till they collapse.
Real quick, I got to...
There might be another way, though. And here is what Mike Lee had to say about a separate strategy that doesn't require nuking the filibuster. Here is the senator from Utah.
All right, before this day comes to a close, I just wanted to wrap up a couple of things. This has been a great day for the SAVE Act. We've added so many co-sponsors, including members of Senate Republican leadership. I'm so grateful for Senator John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, coming out in support of it and acknowledging that we're going to be voting on it. I want to wrap up a couple of things.
Nice.
First of all, it's very important that we continue the push, now more than ever. Now that it's in sight, we can't let up at all. We've got to start pushing for a vote soon, very soon. The sooner we get this thing passed, the sooner it can start doing good and make sure that our November elections are protected. Secondly, accept no easy excuses. There may be some who will say, well, we're not sure if we get the votes, or we're not sure if we can get to 60. Remember, 60 votes is not an inexorable command of any Senate rule. 60 votes is what it takes to bring debate to a close. That doesn't mean there's no way to pass legislation without 60 votes. Well, let me explain what I mean. Under Rule 22 of the Senate rules, every senator is entitled to speak a maximum of 2 times in the same legislative day on the same discrete legislative matter. Legislative days can be drawn out into multiple calendar days. And so everything in the Senate runs on the principle of exhaustion or unanimous consent. If you can't get unanimous consent, you wait until those who are opposed to a measure are exhausted, either physically or until they have exhausted their right under Rule 22 to 2 speeches on the same matter on the same legislative day. And then you call the question. The question is called at a simple majority threshold. This is what I'm talking about when I refer to the need to end the zombie filibuster. Zombie filibuster refers to the fact that when senators aren't even required to speak, if we don't make them speak, the whole point of the filibuster is to extend and protect and prolong debate as long as senators want to, unless or until you can get 60 votes to bring debate to a close. But it's a cheap excuse to say we're going to let them have the benefit of the filibuster without actually having to speak. So accept no imitation, accept no cheap excuses. Bottom line is, rather than simply celebrate, we've got to ramp up pressure. We've got to ramp up discussions everywhere about the SAVE Act until this thing is done. Thanks so much for your hard work on this. Let's keep it going until the SAVE Act is passed and signed into law by President Trump.
Let's go. We need to get that done. That's part of massive reform that would just be devastating for the Democrats, since they rely on rigged elections and rigged votes. But they are working overtime, as we saw in Arizona, all these various groups just digging in to try to get access to democracy for illegal aliens. Hopefully not for long, as the Senate continues to barrel down. We're going to keep the pressure up here. Thank you for joining and subscribing as we do. All right, my friends, it's been a beautiful stream. Happy Friday. Hopefully your week was amazing. We've gotten a lot that we unpacked here together this week. Thank you for being here and joining us. Quick recap. If you are just getting here, we talked about the arrest of Downplays, and we had Pam Bondi came out with an announcement, a video. We had Cash. We heard from his lawyer. We did a refreshing of our recollection on what exactly he was involved in, how he traumatized kids, how he made admissions on podcasts, and then got reaction from Mr. Combhair, who said this is white supremacy and Downplays like a fugitive slave, I guess. Trump has him now doing lawn work at Mar-a-Lago. We heard from the church. They're happy about justice. Various senators, Chuck Schumer, Jasmine Crockett, and we'll never forget this new love that is blossoming. Oh, he's gay. I forgot. Well, maybe something's changing. It's prison love. We'll have to wait and see. We talked about all that. Then we turned our attention to the new leaks and the new hacks that occurred in the Signal scam from the insurgents. Of course, they're operating in these secretive groups where they're conspiring and insurgencying every day. And Cam Higbee, as usual, releasing more materials showing that they intended to create flashpoints. They wanted to cause aggravations to these agents such that things would go bad. Then they could turn around and exploit them, use them for their narrative. And of course, we've been watching that for weeks now. So we went through that, talked about the hack. They got into one of their websites, got all of their data, and then sent that over to the feds. Very nice of them to do that. We heard and compared and contrast this with the Oath Keepers. I think this is an order of magnitude beyond anything we saw with the Oath Keepers or the Proud Boys. Saw that comparison, heard from Senate Republicans on what's happening in Minnesota, Byron Donalds, Brandon Gill, Kristi Noem, and the president himself. Then we heard about what's going on in Arizona, and we talked about the SAVE Act. We've got 3 different groups here, all too cowardly to admit that, yeah, they want illegals to vote in our elections. Millions have signed up to vote in our elections. Jacob Frey has no idea what number of illegal aliens he has in his city is, but he didn't care. And then we learned about this lawsuit by Missouri saying you have to redo the census. You can no longer count illegal aliens. Howard Lutnick, you're being sued, but I'm sure, again, a lot of the times these are kind of, 2 people on the same side. They just have to sue to get a settlement agreement or to get a court order to come in and make some changes. So we went through that. We learned that Homeland, surprise, just spent $70 million on a giant warehouse out in Arizona. It looks beautiful. It can fit so many illegal aliens in this thing. It's going to be great. Katie Hobbs, little bit of a blue on blue violence out here in Arizona. Katie Hobbs saying that Chris Mays should retract her reckless and irresponsible statements immediately, Chris. And Mike Lee and others working hard on the SAVE Act. We're very excited about that. That would be significant reform. Heard from many people in Congress and saw what the plan is on this. House is back in session on Monday, and we're going to see what happens next. But my friends, it's been a beautiful day, a beautiful stream. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing and liking this video and sharing it with a friend or family member. And again, we're coming back tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, we'll be back here live. We have an announcement to share with you, my beautiful wife and I. So we'll be here 11 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Arizona, 8 a.m. California. And we'll get into it. We'll see what else is out there, and then we'll share some news. And then we're going to go see Melania as a family. It's going to be beautiful. All right, so now, my friends, let's see what you have to say about all this. Happy Friday. Hopefully you're doing something fun tonight. We appreciate you joining us. Muffin Rando, thank you for clipping. John McGarvey, we got Donut clipping for us in the house. Very nice to see you. Very nice to see you. Hey, we got some other comments. Wow. Yeah. Hey, what's up, John? It's good to see you. We got some nice comments in here. Hey, here's one. Here's how we start the day. And the taco vendor, good to see you. Thank you, the taco vendor. Hey, when life serves you a bowl of lemons, arrest Don Lemon. Yeah. I don't think that he thought this was ever going to happen to him. He's probably having a little bit of a reckoning today. Because he's an egomaniac, like an egomaniac. You can't touch me. I'm Don Lemon. You know who I am? Trino Galaxy. Dumb Lemon just got arrested. Hassan got banned on Twitch. The KKK is in shambles. Can this day get any better for the above the law crowd getting the FO to go with the FA? The KKK, are they still around? I thought the KKK was basically like the Democratic Party. They are in shambles, though. So good comment. Thank you, Trino Galaxy. Good to see you. Hey, Emro Bytix. What's up? Emro Bytix. M. Robbie, Texas. Oh, M. Roby, Texas. What's up, M. Roby? Welcome aboard. Thank you for becoming a member. We had a great members only stream this morning. Tomorrow, normally we do members only streams on Saturday, but tomorrow will be, it's a special stream. Yeah, well, no. Hey, Emro, thank you for that. So we'll see you tomorrow too. Hey, Dogs Before Dudes, what's up? Hey, consider having a meetup with Arizona members. Yeah, that would be fun. We haven't done anything like that. Our last meetup was the inauguration watch party. That was in Arizona. That was fun. That was wild time. Hey, thank you, Dogs. It wasn't that wild, but it was a good time. Trump won. It was crazy. Hey, Dogs Before Dudes. Thank you for that, man. Yeah, we'd love to do that. It would be fun to figure out how to be a better organizer at those things. Lady Desiree Music. Thank you, Lady Desiree. Says, hey, everyone. I just finished making lemon bars on a cooking stream in honor of Don. That's great. Everyone can make lemon bars. Yeah. Because it's lemon behind bars. Oh, that's just perfect. Enjoy. Enjoy. Yeah. It's lots of lemon puns we can have with this. Trino Galaxy says, notice how they call their leftist BSers, quote, journalists. But when they say journalists calling them out, they call them right-wing influencers. Strange coincidence, right? Yeah, their people are like, saints and, heroes. Our people are just the worst. Thank you, Trino Galaxy. Rick D says, I guess we know now why Nekima's lawyer was fighting so hard to block them from searching her phone. Totally. Yeah, we covered that earlier this week. Perhaps conversations between Don and her about the plan. Yeah, so Nekima, the first one who got charged, the main leader, ringleader, main agitator, she filed a motion. If you missed it, we covered it here, read through it, saying she's a lawyer and you can't read her phone because there's attorney-client privilege material in there. We're like, you filed that like 4 days after your arrest. They've already got the whole thing imaged. You're in big trouble. So Trino Galaxy says, Dumb Lemon is a racist heterophobe. That's true. Yeah, he hates white people and he hates straight people. They must view any action against, except he's married to a white gay man, which is weird. Yeah, it's weird. They must view any action against him as worse than himself so he can remain the greatest thing ever. Well, I'm sure he'll rationalize it some way. That's how narcissists think. Dems are really mad about not being able to attack churches. They really don't want us to remember what happened when that was allowed. No, they hate this is straight out of Marx, right? He hates capitalism and he hates Christianity. Those, you can do anything you want to. You can shoot CEOs in the back, right? As long as it's anti-capitalism, as long as it's anti-Christian. John McGarvey, I'm just going to hope that the U.S. Marshals are transporting Don on an old stinky bus from California to Minnesota for his arraignment. Yeah, maybe that's why it's taken so long for all this to be unsealed. They put him on the crappiest bus they could find. Enjoy it there, Don. Don Lemon has been a journalist, says this old guy, for 30 years. Yeah, right. Now journalist. What's he do? He just sits there on cable and reads whatever is on the teleprompter for him. Now he gets to be a prisoner for 6 months unless they can connect the injured church members who fell as a result of the invasion, which could make it 10 years. We can always hope. Yeah, so the penalties for FACE Act, but I think the penalties for conspiracy against rights are harsher than the penalties for the FACE Act. FACE Act is kind of like on a scale. If there's violence, the penalty goes up. If there's no violence, the penalty stays low. But conspiracy against rights, I think that starts at, was it 10 years? Or what's the max? 10 years? 20 years? It's a big one. Mrs. T. Rush, wait, the arrest is a dark message to journos everywhere? Where was this outrage when James O'Keefe and other PV journos were raided for nothing? Yeah, James O'Keefe has broken more stories and done more journalisming than Don ever has. Don just screams, attacks people for being racist and bigoted. Like that's your shtick. Philip B. Prediction. U.S. versus Lemon. SCOTUS 6-3. Us. U.S. It might. I mean, I could see it. Yeah. How far does, the First Amendment extend to a journalist or something? I think this is a pretty open and shut case. He was not a journalist. He was an agitator. He was a part of it. But we'll see. Hey, Milan, it's a nice thing to think about. Don might like that. He's like, I'm a Supreme Court case. Hey, Milan, Eli, no one cares if you're pink with purple polka dots or a lemon loser. Just do not interrupt people worshiping Christ. Yeah, or anybody. Like we wouldn't, in a Jewish synagogue or a Muslim mosque, right? We're not going in there and interrupting those things. Those are sacred. You respect other people's worship. It's not complicated. Hey, this old guy. Please tell me there were cameras at the Don Lemon arrest. I hope so. Yeah, we're waiting for the mugshot. We're waiting for the charges to be unsealed, which will probably be happening soon. B.H. Williams, I can only stay for a few minutes. I have to leave to help my daughter. We are expecting a blizzard this weekend, so stay safe, everyone. B.H., you're a good father. Safe travels, and stay warm, stay bundled up, and stay safe, everyone, indeed, if you're in the midst of that. Trino Galaxy says, drinking game idea. Take a drink every time they accuse someone of fascism. You'd be dead in like 2 minutes. What are you watching? MSNBC? You're dead in 2 minutes. Take a drink every time they say or do something out of the Nazi handbook. Your blood alcohol content, you'd be at 0.40 in 2 minutes. Hey, biology, thank you for the comment, Trino Galaxy. Don't die. Biology always wins. Hey, Rockin' Rob, you were so entertaining. The great people at the Food Lion Produce Department laughing their bums off. You make the crazy news hilarious. Virginia, VA. Hey, shout out to our friends at the Food Lion Produce Department. Man, that sounds great. I'm sure they're just giant fruits out there, you know? Food Lion Produce. Amazing. So shout out to our friends over there. Biology always wins. Thanks for sending that in. How fun. We appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching the show. How fun. Hey, Rick D. Breaking. New Jersey Governor Mickey Sherrill to launch a portal to track and report ICE agents. Oh, yeah. Didn't she just get elected too? Wow. Yeah, it's like an insurgency all over the place. Thank you for that. Rick D. sent that from an airplane. Hey, Severus. The fanatic left complaining about First and Amendment rights is laughable, right? Remember when they threw Trump off the internet? It's so glad my friends are conservative. Otherwise, I'd probably go insane. Yeah. I mean, I used to tolerate like more leftism in my life. I just don't tolerate it anymore. And actually, I think that people just know that they know what I do now, so they don't even engage, which is better. It's just better. There's so many good people who are values aligned with us. You don't have to waste your time with losers. But, like if it's family, like there's certain people, okay, crazy, lib uncle or whatever. But otherwise, yeah, you don't have to deal with these people. They're draining. They just suck the energy and the life out of you. Dark Rogue, if these people knew what fascism actually looked like, they would punch all of their mirrors. Yeah, they just throw around these labels that make them feel better about themselves. I mean, fascism, it's like, I don't even think they could articulate it. As an economic model, do they just not like authoritarianism? Is it the meshing of business and government? Because it's kind of, reminiscent of socialism, which they all encourage aggressively. And their tactics are authoritarian. I mean, they're anti-free speech. They're anti, really like choices about certain things. Like they say they care about medical choice, but they don't. They shove this into your body. They're little totalitarians. But they blame everybody else for being fascist. It's like, you have to trans your kid. I don't want to. Why? Because you're a fascist. What? And they've gone so far removed from guys like Dennis Kucinich or even Amy Klobuchar. We listened to Amy Klobuchar yesterday, who said we should have a border and we should punish businesses who hire illegal aliens. That was 2006. Not that long ago. They've totally lost it. And just like anything else, right? What they call you is what they're doing. They say Trump is trying to steal the 2020 election with his lawsuits and with January 6th. It's like, no, you just stole it. What are you talking about? Trump is persecuting his political opponents. You just indicted like 100 people who were on his team for years. Trump is attacking the First Amendment right. You banned him off the internet and then threw him off the ballot. Confession through projection, as they say. Thank you for that, Dark Rogue. Hey, Debbie or not Debbie? Not. I think the indictment has been unsealed. Oh, man, has it? I haven't seen it come across my screen. You might be right. It probably is getting close to that. I'll pull it up. We'll see if we can grab it tomorrow. Maybe we'll hit that tomorrow morning before our big announcement. Get the heck out of here. It's uncivil law. Hey, what's up? We'll come to that. Psychological projectionist says, RWing pro-ICE counter-protests conspicuously absent. Right-wing pro-ICE counter-protests are conspicuously absent. Well, I was thinking literally about this. I thought, well, what if people just went into Don Lemon's church and just protested him? Like if everybody went around, sat around Don Lemon, if he goes to church and doesn't instantly burst into flames, if he's sitting there and like is acceptable there, then what if you just all sat around him and then just started protesting like when he got the body of Christ? Would that be a First Amendment right? Could you do that? Of course not. They would all be arrested. That's the problem. Don would get an exoneration, or until today. But anybody else on the opposite side, like if you go out there and you counter protest, I saw something like this happen in England the other day. Somebody was setting up a table in the UK, and they were debating. Some lady, some other maniac came, flipped the table. Camera guy grabs the guy who flipped the table. Cops show up, arrest the camera guy. Because the table said something like, immigration is bad. So the cop said, you're going to jail. And they took him to jail. So it's kind of like that, right? It's a friendly environment. So if you're a conservative out there counter protesting, you're probably going to jail or getting killed. Because the cops don't have your back. Hey, what's going on? Uncivil Law says, has Rob heard about, so Uncivil is right next door, another attorney on YouTube and elsewhere. Have you heard about my gym successes? The 1,000-pound club for the big 3 lifts. That's big, man. So that's deadlift, squat, and bench. So, damn, man. Damn. Yeah, I don't think I'm hitting 1,000 on those things. So your squat and your deadlift must be pretty good. That's pretty good, man. So, I mean, just think about the numbers, right? So you need like, what is it, like 3... so like if you could get like 2... Yeah, so like 3 on a bench. Are you getting 3 on a bench? You're getting 5 on deadlifts. Let's say, maybe 4 on deadlifts. 3. You have to tell me what your numbers are. I can't do the math right now, but that's pretty good. That's pretty good. I don't think I could do that. My bench, I rep 225. Not about. I rep 225. I really don't go much heavier than that. Squats, I don't go heavy on because I've got some lower back problems. Same thing with deadlifts, so I don't really spend a lot of time on those exercises. I do exercises for those muscle groups, but I just have lower back problems. I wrecked my back in high school. It's still a problem for me. So I don't maneuver those exercises. But shout out, man, lifting weights. It's very good for you. It makes you feel better. You just throw doors open like it ain't nothing. Walk around like, it's great. So keep it up, Uncivil. Hey, not that, you feel stronger. I'm just saying you feel stronger. King of Biltong. Hey, are you looking for real food? Try some biltong, made with clean ingredients and done the right way at Biltong USA. We don't make processed junk. Check out biltongusa.com. Use code Robert and you'll save 10% off. And you'll get some amazing food packed with creatine for lifting weights. Trino Galaxy says, funny hearing Dems talk about Sumter, when that was local Dem-controlled forces attacking federal troops. The comparison works in the other direction. Yeah, well, I think when Tim Walz says those things, he's just trying to agitate and increase the temperature. Like, you're in a civil war. You're under attack. So stay strapped. Stay armed. Get ready to mobilize. Yeah, Mizzy M. Hey, thanks as always for your reporting. It seems more and more clear to me that it's a spiritual war we are fighting. Yeah, and I think that's right. The more that this progresses, the more you start to see evil emerge. When you see people shoot and kill Charlie Kirk and you see his neck explode and bleed out in front of everybody, and you see them celebrating that, what is that other than evil? When you watch that man walk into the church and start screaming in the faces of Christians like a demon possessing his voice, what is that? So if you just sit around, you're like, I guess it's just angry libs, like blue-haired libs or whatever. I think you're missing the mark. It's much deeper than that. And these people can be saved, of course, through the power of Jesus and others. And it's a battle that we have to stay on. Otherwise, you see the territory to the demonic forces. Hey, Cecil says, thank you for rating our stream. Thank you, Cecil. Hey, look at these holy men. Now, Cardinal, the Rack. I don't know what that is from exactly, but those guys, that's a Cardinal who's a pilot? Are those the Three Musketeers? Cardinal O'Flanagan says, here in town, proof of ID is required for homeless to enter a warming shelter to not freeze. You got to show ID to get in the building. Yet to enter that same building as a polling place, they do not need ID. Sure makes sense, huh? Yeah, that is interesting. So even to get in a homeless shelter, so to make sure maybe you're not a felon and you're not like going to kill somebody. Yeah. Very strange times. You need an ID for anything except one of the most important sacred duties as an American citizen, which is your obligation to participate in your own self-governance. Joe, anything about the new Epstein files? Super crazy. Not really. I mean, we covered, so this morning on the members only stream, we were listening to the Todd Blanche press briefing. We thought that was going to be a Don Lemon press briefing. Turns out the whole press briefing was about the Epstein files. So we covered that whole thing this morning. And then there were some other drops today that came out. I saw there was some anonymous report about Trump. There were some pretty damning things about Bill Gates and apparently his genitals. He sent emails back and forth with Epstein. But we listened to Todd. Todd saying no one's getting indicted. No one's getting charged. There's no evidence of anything. So it's, I think kind of done, honestly. I think that the reason that Todd Blanche came out today was to put a bookend on this thing, to say we're done. We're not going to be continuing to entertain this nonsense anymore. So I feel like it's a giant distraction. We're just circling and circling. Whatever the DOJ gave, no one's ever going to be happy with it. So unless the victims want to come out and help assist in this effort, law's been followed. Time to move on. Rick D, thought you would find this interesting. A lawyer here in Tennessee has been disbarred after showing up at the jail drunk twice for her DUI clients. That's sad, man. Yeah, it's not good. And alcoholism in the law is a real thing. It's a real thing everywhere, but it's a real thing with lawyers, man. And yeah, it's a problem. That's not good. Hopefully that lawyer gets help. Can't be showing up drunk to events. And you see it with like surgeons and stuff too. Yeah. Surgeons like doing surgery on cocaine. It's like, oh gosh. Although maybe it might be better. Rick D, what's up? Hey, Rick D, out of an airplane. 5 new membos gifted. Thank you, Rick, for doing this. Who's here? Tony Ruba, what's up? Terry Ann Bernier. We got baby cakes in the house. Zach Guy is here. And truth always wins. Indeed, it does. Thank you for bringing those friends in, Rick D. We appreciate that. Welcome, new friends. Grab the member stream from this morning. Doan. Rob, did you read that list of new taxes that Amy Spookbooger, the CIA asset, is hammering down on Virginia after Youngkin engineered a budget surplus? Cough it up, Virginians. We did. We saw that. We saw there's going to be a bunch of Second Amendment bills. I think they're decriminalizing things. Like there's a bunch of stuff that's in the legislature. I don't know that it's going to get out of the legislature, but yeah, they're going to like put caps on magazines, and they're going to eliminate mandatory minimums for horrific crimes. It's not good. 300-yard wink. 300-yard wink. I'm in Calgary, Alberta. Been here for 4 years. You're awesome. Hey, shout out. Thank you for that. 14 months as a member, man. That's a long time. Happy anniversary and almost 2 babies to us. 300-yard wink in Calgary, Alberta. I don't think I've been there. I've been up to Quebec. Is that nearby? I don't know. I don't know Canada geography. But thanks for being here for 4 years, man. That's a long time. We've been through a lot together. Hopefully many more. LZ, Lucky 7 seems to be working this week. Onward and upward, Robert. Yeah, thank you, LZ. $7 for luck. And I think the last time you sent that was at 7 o'clock on the money. So thank you, LZ. We appreciate that. Thanks for being over on Locals. OSPAC is here. Hey, apologies if this has been asked and answered as I'm running a bit behind, but what is the minimum point of the Missouri lawsuit where the DOJ can use the old sue and settle boogie? That is such a good phrase. Yeah, where they agree to a settlement with Missouri to not count illegals anymore and open up the census data for validation during each census. Such a great comment, OSPAC. And I was thinking the same thing. Like when they play patty cake, remember the sue and settle boogie. Such a great phrase, by the way. Genius if you came up with that. I love it. We saw that during the election. Remember Mark Elias, Democracy Docket. They would go into the states. So a Democrat election operation law firm would go in and they would sue a secretary in Michigan or Wisconsin. I think they were. Retired Alliance of Michigan. Retired Americans Alliance of Michigan. We covered a dozen of these lawsuits. They'd go in. They'd say, COVID's going to kill the seniors. And so we need to extend the deadlines. We need to install ballot drop boxes. We need to waive, I think Wisconsin was waiving signature requirements. You could just sign up online, no signature requirements at all. Then they would sue and the secretaries would settle. So they would just say, oh, you're right. COVID's going to kill everyone. And the governor just declared a national emergency. And so the secretary would settle with the left. And the judge would stamp this settlement and say, no, it's just private parties, and install new rules that they would then use for the elections. Remember? We covered many of them here. So same type of thing here. What if Missouri AG settles with the federal government and a judge stamps off on it and says, yeah, Missouri judge, maybe a red judge. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, no, the census is rigged. It's ridiculous to have illegals counted and all the things. And then we just get a nice deal and cover to go do it. So I would guarantee we're gonna see a lot of litigation about this, especially if we get a good ruling. But maybe they try that. It's a smart play. Hey, Don Lemon, do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You go directly to jail. Don Lemon. Hey, Just Rhonda says, okay, the indictment has been unsealed from Jonah Finn. Awesome. Amazing. Thank you, Just Rhonda. We'll come back and get into it. Off Label says, whatever the announcement is, congrats. Man, thank you, Off Label. We'll have to wait till tomorrow to see what it is. Bill Dozer says, projection, thy name is the left. Projection, thy name is the left. Confession through projection. Blame everybody else for the things that you're doing. Hey, Ray Hedrick, what's up? 19 months as a membo. Taking some good guesses out there. Very good guesses, Ray. Thanks for being a membo for 19 months. Hey, Matt, all that data collected in the hack turned over to the FBI. Can it be used or will it be considered fruit of the poisonous tree if used? Which hack? Oh, the Signal hack, the website hack. Yeah, that's a good question. I think that the defense, right, if the defense, if this was the basis of a charge, the defense could make the argument that that was like illegally obtained evidence, right? They would try that. And the FBI would probably respond and say that or maybe they already had it. Maybe this was publicly accessible. Yeah, it's a good question. And I think the FBI is not going to use that as evidence of a crime. So it's like, what is the case going to be made of? The FBI case, they're not going to go indict somebody because somebody sent them a notice that they're on a website, right? So in other words, the list will inform the investigations. The investigations will develop their own evidence that is beyond the list. That will make up the basis of the charges. And then that will prevent the defense attorneys from having something to latch onto. Would be my guess is how that works. But yeah, like if the charge was just because somebody showed up on a list and you're like, oh, seditious conspiracy because your email was on a website, that's not going to be a strong case. But it will be informative to lead to something that is much stronger. Otherwise, yeah, the defense would have would argue. So what if his name's on a list somewhere? Like I might go over there and sign up for it too. I want to get their alerts too to see what's going on. But I'm not an anti-ICE person, right? So that's I think procedurally how it would ultimately play out. If it was limited, then yeah, it would be a pretty weak case. Off label. Even an agnostic like me can't avoid the spiritual aspect of it. You can. It's in your face. You can feel it. You can feel it in your human experience. You can just watch it and go, okay, this is not normal human behavior. The clip with 3 cardinals is Monty Python. That's why I had no idea what it was. That's how you know. I have never seen it because I have no idea. No one expects the Spanish Inquisition skit. Never seen it. And you know what, Tim? Never will. Hey, Tony McKee. Tony B.A. McKee in the house. Thanks for the dono, Tony. No comment or question on that. But we appreciate you being here. And thanks for sending that in. Hey, Tasadaka. What's up, Tasadaka? Kathy Griffin is calling for liberals to notice who their MAGA neighbors are. Oh, I saw some Chinese person saying the same thing too. He said, anybody who has an American flag should be identified. I hope she remembers the story from the book of Esther when Haman arranged for the Jewish people to be destroyed and how that ended. We will defend ourselves. Don't forget the silent majority tends to be mostly conservative. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think they are. I don't know, man. I think like our side, yeah, we are the silent majority. Maybe that's part of the problem is we need to get a little less silent and a little bit more organized. These people are highly organized. And It's not me just saying that. It's Green Berets saying, oh, damn, this is a problem. So, you know, silent majority is great, but we need to be the highly organized, very sophisticated, highly motivated, and competent loud majority. Hey, Miss Lucky, Sergeant Bob. Oh, you guys saw Melania. All right, we're going to go see that tomorrow. So we're going to do a stream, and then we're going to go see the movie. Some emotional parts, bring earplugs. The movie house runs trailers beforehand, and they blast the sound. That's great advice, Sergeant Bob. I don't really like a lot of loudness. I really don't. Thank you, Sergeant Bob. That's good advice. I'll bring them. Hey, Spuds, I am sure Grammys will be lit with supporters of Dans les Mains and other fans of communism. Well, it's Hollywood, yeah, because we have already seen substantial support for the insurgents by the very influential entertainment industry. Are they influential anymore? I mean, we saw their dumb videos about Trump. It's like 34 felonies, like Tom Hanks. 34 felonies. Like, shut up, Tom. Don't you have some kid's shoes to post pictures of? There will be a call to arms from the far left as long as the money is still available. Yeah, that's right. And, you know, it's very cyclical. So the money that goes to the illegals, you know, they're skimming off of it. So it's funding the operation. So if that whole gravy train comes to an end, they're in big trouble. Sadie, Rob, I just finished watching the movie called The Patriot with Mel Gibson. Great film. Who played the part of Benjamin Martin. They say that was the revolutionary hero called Thomas Sumter, who the fort mentioned was named after him, that sits on Charleston's harbor. Thomas Sumter is buried in Statesburg, South Carolina in Sumter County. Interesting, the palmetto tree is pictured here on the state flag for a reason. They used the palmetto tree to build most of this fort that saved them, as the wood of the palmetto tree was so soft that the projectiles from the cannons and bullets actually sunk into the wood. As it goes. Yeah, there it is, man. Crazy. Cool. A lot of cool history there. Civil War history is wild. Hey, Donut. Amazing. All right, so Donut says, may have found a leak of the indictment or a copy of the indictment. Amazing. Yeah, so there was also the complaint that was coming out, right? That was redacted, which we read earlier. So thank you, Donut, for that one. Sergeant Bob says, as a veteran investigator, I have figured out what your announcement is tomorrow. I won't put it on the comments, though. Sergeant Bob. It's like Inspector Gadget or Sherlock Holmes. Sergeant Bob, we appreciate it. Yeah, I can't give it away, but it's going to be a big surprise tomorrow. It's getting bigger, too. Lawless Clinton judge permanently blocks Trump's executive order requiring proof to vote or to register to vote. Clinton judge at the district court level. I'm sure that will be appealed. Thank you, Hardened Patriot. We'll keep our eye on that one. Jane Land. What's up, Jane Land? Yeah, I'm making my new cookies. Don Lemon behind bars. So good. Don Lemon behind bars. Lemon bars. You can send him some too, you know, from jail. I'm sure he'll like those. Hey, Don, we got a gift for you. They're lemon bars. He probably hates those. I would bet he does. I would bet he does. All right. So, my friends, it's been a beautiful stream. Thank you for joining us. And thank you for being here and coming back tomorrow, because we're coming back tomorrow on Saturday with my beautiful, beautiful wife. And we'll talk about some things. Hey, Satellite Boy says the freedom of religion, the freedom of conscience, the freedom to believe as you wish. These are characteristics of a Christian nation. These things are things because of Christianity. Yeah, it's ridiculous for him to say it's not a Christian nation. Okay. Who could run for office during the 13 colonies era? Go back and look that one up there, Don. Join watchers over on Locals. Yes, we have great members-only streams on Locals. You can join up on Locals, watching thewatchers.locals.com. You can join on YouTube. We're also streaming on Substack now, so you can check us out over there. And hopefully you come back tomorrow, because it's going to be a fun stream. Should be a good one. Rick D, thank you, Rick. Senate has passed the final spending bill to avoid the shutdown, but they removed the addition to DHS spending. Like an addition of an amendment to strip the funding? All right, we'll have to look that up. Thank you, Rick D, for the updates. Yeah, lots happening right now. But it looks like there will be continuity of government. All right. No guessing. I can't tell you until my beautiful wife is here. Locals. All right, we're going to come back tomorrow. Yeah, I know. It's a big one. It's a big one. So thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. It should be a good one. And family's here, so maybe Mama will come and say hello. Maybe Joey will make an appearance. They're here. We're going to go see the movie and all the things. It's going to be fun. All right, so my friends, let's pause here for the afternoon. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the fun. Thanks for having some good fun with that. We'll pause here for the afternoon, and we're going to get some rest, and then we're going to come back tomorrow. Oh, no. Another photo leaked. Oh, no. What happened? Oh, gosh. You know, yesterday, Gigam has access to all my photos. She must have hacked into it like the Signal groups. And yesterday, she showed you a photo of my wrestling career before I went to law school and became a YouTuber. But I have to now confess, I wasn't the only one who was in that career. Now Gigam has videos leaking. We're busted. It's true. Viva and Barnes and Rob, that was from our prior career. That was back in the 90s, okay? The 90s were strange times. Strange times in the 90s. And this is really breaking the nipple rule here on the channel. All right, so shout out to Viva and Barnes. You can let them know that you now know the truth about them too. Robert Barnes and Viva, oh no, we're lawyers. We're like really professional legal commenters. We'll never let them forget. We used to mix it up in the ring together. All right. All right. So that's from Gigam. Shout out to Viva. Shout out to Robert Barnes and Gigam. Thank you for that. I don't know where you keep getting these real photos. I don't know where they keep showing up. I thought I deleted them all, but apparently not. All right. So my friends, we're going to pause here for the afternoon. It's been a beautiful day, a beautiful week. Thanks for hanging with us and for being a part of our community and all the things that we're doing. We are coming back tomorrow morning. I know it's going to be Saturday, but we're excited to come back and see what else the day has in store for us. So 9 a.m. Arizona time, 11 Eastern. We'll be back. We'll see what else is cooking, and we'll be looking forward to sharing some news with you. Big one, big news. All right, so thanks again for being here. Thanks to our amazing mods and meme smiths. We got John in the house, making sure I'm not missing anything. Thank you, John, for clipping. We got Muffin Rando. We got Donut Mind Me, Mod in the Fort Down for us. Carrie B, K Bean, thank you. Neuro D, Janek, Dog Digger, Gigam, Elliot, Just Rhonda, all Mod in the Fort Down for us, keeping things nice and orderly. And my friends, thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Thanks for coming back tomorrow. And of course, if we don't see you tomorrow, we'll be back on Monday. We're going to get into it again. Should be a busy week, and we're looking forward to it. But until we are back here, I hope your weekend is outstanding. You're doing something fun, something exciting, treating yourself to an extra scoop of ice cream or something delicious because you've earned it. We're going to come back tomorrow and then again on Monday to get into it again. But until we are back here, my friends, I hope that you're out there getting after it, making it a great and beautiful day. And then you come back tomorrow to get into it again because we will be back here. And in order to do this whole thing appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Happy Friday. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. You brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers. Truth on our side. nothing to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news, but here we see through